Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a framework that could seriously change how developers build apps on top of large language models. So if you're a developer working with AI, I bet this sounds familiar. You've got this amazing LLM, and you want to connect it to your own tools, your own data, give it some real superpowers. But then you start building and you realize, oh, this is way harder than it looks. You find yourself writing the same old boilerplate code again and again and again. It's a drag, right? It's where bugs hide, and it stops you from focusing on the actual logic, the cool stuff you wanted to build in the first place. So let's break that down. What's really going on under the hood? What's the actual challenge here that makes connecting an LLM to a simple tool feel so complicated? Okay, so first you've got to manually connect everything, right? The transport layers, then you have to define all your endpoints for how the model even finds your tools and runs them. And on top of that, you have to write custom validation code for every single input. You're basically spending all your time on the plumbing instead of the actual app. But of course, what if there was a better way? And that's exactly where mcp-use, our focus for today, steps in. It's a framework built from the ground up to just get rid of these problems. So what is it really? Well, at its heart, mcp-use is a full-stack framework. And get this, it's for both TypeScript and Python. It gives you everything you need to build what are called MCP servers and these really cool interactive apps that work with the big names like ChatGPT and Claude. Now, the whole thing is built on this really neat idea, the Model Context Protocol, or MCP. The easiest way to think about it is like a standard API, but made just for LLMs. It boils everything down to two concepts you already know. Resources, which are basically like GET requests for fetching data, and tools, which are like POST requests for getting something done. Simple as that. Okay, so that's the theory, but how does mcp-use actually get rid of all that boilerplate we were just talking about? How does it make things so much faster in practice? Well, a huge part of its power is just how simple it is. You can spin up a server in just a few lines of code. But here's the magic. It comes with built-in validation using Zod. Think of it like a bouncer at the door for your data. If the data coming in isn't shaped exactly right, it doesn't even get in the door. This one feature saves you from writing tons of validation code yourself. And then there's this, which is a total game changer for development. When you're running your app locally, you automatically get this inspector UI. It's this web page where you can poke and prod your tools directly, check out the data going in and out, all without having to hook it up to a real LLM first. It's a massive, massive time saver. All right, but now we're getting to what is, in my opinion, the absolute wow moment for this framework. This is the part that goes way beyond just making the backend easier. They're called MCP apps, or what I'll call widgets. And these aren't just text responses. We're talking about real interactive React components that your tools can send back to the AI chat. You build the component once, and it can show up right inside clients like Claude or ChatGPT. It's super powerful stuff. And you can see the difference right here. On the one hand, a standard tool spits back a line of text. That's fine. But with mcp-use, your tool can return a rich interactive component. This completely changes the user experience. You're not just chatting anymore, you're interacting with a mini app. And get this, look how simple it is to actually do. On your server, instead of returning a string of text, you just return this widget function and pass in your props. That's it. The framework handles all the complicated stuff behind the scenes. And then over in your React component on the front end, you just use a simple hook, use widget, to grab those props. The framework handles all that messy wiring in between. It just works. Okay, but here's the really clever part. What if the AI client you're using doesn't support these fancy widgets? No problem. The design is so smart because your tool also provides a plain text fallback, so any client that can't render the widget just gets the readable text. It's called graceful degradation, and it's baked right in. So at this point, you're probably thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. How do I actually get started? And the good news is it couldn't be easier. If you're on TypeScript, it's just one npx command to set up a whole project. If you're a Python developer, it's a simple pip install. Seriously, you can be up and running in a matter of seconds. And what you get is a whole ecosystem of packages. You've got the core frameworks for both TypeScript and Python, a command line tool that gives you stuff like hot reloading, and of course, that awesome inspector for debugging. So your whole workflow becomes super clean and simple. You build your tools and widgets. You test them out instantly with the local inspector. And when you're ready to go live, you can deploy it however you want, either with their hosting platform, Manufact, or by hosting it yourself. Okay, let's pull back for a second and look at the big picture. We've seen the how, but what about the why? Why does a framework like this even matter for the future of building AI apps? Well, let's just boil it down. You'd want to use mcp-use if you're tired of boilerplate. You want automatic data validation, you need a way better debugging experience, and this is the big one. If you want to build those awesome interactive widgets for agents like Claude or ChatGPT, and it's not just us saying this. This whole approach is clearly hitting a nerve with developers. I mean, look at that. Almost 10,000 stars on GitHub. That tells you this is solving a very real, very painful problem for a lot of people out there. And that really brings us to our final thought for today. Are these interactive widgets the future of how we're all going to work with AI? Are we leaving simple text chats behind for a world where our AIs are building dynamic apps for us right on the spot? It's a pretty exciting thing to think about. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.